Lucy from Geneva.com is joining me in studio, and we are going to be busting 5 vitamin myths. Hello.
Hello.
I say vitamin, you say vitamin, but that's okay. All right, we're busting 5 myths today. The first myth is that 100% RDA of vitamins is all you need for health.
Well, first let's define RDA. So RDA stands for the recommended dietary allowance, and that is the level of nutrients, so vitamins and minerals that you need to take in order to prevent deficiency diseases. So for example, as we said earlier, vitamin C, and to prevent scurvy you need a certain level of vitamin C. However, we do find that in a higher dose for some of the vitamins and minerals, you can actually achieve health benefits over and above preventing deficiency diseases. So there are possibly higher levels that provide more optimal doses for optimal body function, for health. That is often better to be taking. So when you're looking at a supplement, if it says 100% RDA, it's just something to twig in your mind. That maybe other levels might be necessary for me for health, but yes, that's just a common misconception that people think if they're getting 100% RDA, they've covered all their bases.
All right, so 100% RDA is not always the way.
It's not always the optimal way.
Okay.
It should prevent deficiency diseases, but it's not always the optimum level.
All right, well, the second myth we have here is that natural equals safe. So I think a lot of people think, and how can a natural product harm me? It's natural. And that's not the right way to think, is it?
Yes, now I think that's a very, very important myth that needs to be debunked. Often some of the most poisonous substances that we actually find come from natural sources. So for example, from plants, yes. So it's important to remember that even if it's natural, safe, pure, all of those sort of words that are often used on marketing of products, they can actually have harmful effects if they are given in a dose that's too high or above the dose that should be allowed to be used. And also in certain disease states, if you're taking certain medications, there can be harmful interactions between the herb or whatever product you're using and your medication. So it's always important to check with your healthcare provider first and just be aware that natural is not always safe. Obviously it can be safe, but the only way to determine that is to chat to your doctor, your dietitian, or an expert that knows about the interaction between different chemicals.
Now, what are some of the natural supplements that are not safe if taken in high dosage?
Well, for example, it's not necessarily not safe taken in high doses, but for example, vitamin K, you need to be very aware of vitamin K because that's involved in blood clotting if you're on warfarin. And as a result of that, vitamin K is a natural substance, but as a result of that interaction with warfarin and the serious health effects that it can have if you're taking it without being in consultation with your healthcare provider, vitamin K has actually been scheduled as a medicine.
Oh, really?
Yes. So certain substances can interact, and also, for example, if you're taking super doses of certain things, vitamin A is a natural product, but for pregnant women, if you're taking it in too high doses, it can actually cause birth defects for the baby.
Oh, wow.
So it's just something to remember, even though it's, if it says it's natural, it's safe, high doses of those things are not necessarily recommended, and even some of the ingredients are not recommended for certain conditions and with certain medications, so check first.
All right, well, now we're moving on to our third vitamin myth, that weight loss product. Now we're moving on to our third vitamin myth, that's weight loss products are a magic bullet.
Yes, I think if we had this magic bullet, a perfect product,
we would all be so thin.
Yes, and nobody would be, if it was something that you could just use without exercise and you could just eat what you want, we would not have this problem of obesity and chronic diseases. So if a product is making claims that this miracle cure going to make you thin in 2 days, if it seems like it's too good to be true, it probably is too good to be true. So be very wary of those types of claims. Some products can even contain ingredients that could be dangerous, and there have been substances that have been pulled from the market that haven't been allowed to be used. So it's important to remember there is no magic bullet. Anything should always be in the context of a healthy lifestyle. we're not going to get away from eating a healthy diet and exercise.
Everyone's always trying to get away from those
It's
two
true,
things.
yes.
Just eat healthily and exercise. Now the fourth myth. This is a myth for moms, that supplements aren't necessary for their children if they eat properly. Now, why is that a myth?
I think where it comes to the definition of eating properly, often moms are not aware of what their children are needing. Moms often don't know that, for example, children should be having 2 to 3 portions of fatty fish a week in order to get the optimum omega-3 levels. So that can be a myth where the moms think they're feeding the child a perfect diet and they're actually not meeting their requirements for what they need. In our westernized diet, unfortunately, there's too many unhealthy fats, too much sugar, too much salt, and not enough of the micronutrient providing foods, for example, your vitamins and your fruits and your vegetables, which provide your vitamins and your minerals. In most, they do say that you can meet your nutritional requirements with a healthy diet. So moms, if you are feeding your child a perfect diet, then that's fantastic, well done. That's a really, really good approach, and that's fantastic. Some countries do recommend routine supplementation. For example, in America, the American Academy of Pediatrics does recommend vitamin D supplementation for all children from a few days old, because they have found that there are deficiencies prevalent in that population. So there's quite a lot of children who are vitamin D deficient, which of course affects bone health.
Right.
In South Africa, there aren't any specific recommendations for vitamin D supplementation, but that is something that if a mom feels concerned if her child isn't eating properly, if she's worried about her child's bone health, just as an example, then it's a good possible thing to bring up with your healthcare provider and chat and see if your child may possibly need a supplement. Omega-3 supplements can also be useful if your child is not eating the fatty fish that they should be taking in order to get their omegas in, because omegas have been shown in studies to have very good health benefits. So fantastic if you can feed your child the fatty fish 2 to 3 times a week. That is brilliant and well done, but you can also use omega-3 supplements. Again, check with your doctor because they can have health effects, so check first, but they can also be helpful.
Now, how do you know if you're feeding your child a perfect diet, or if you yourself are eating a perfect diet?
I think that's often a difficult thing to do. I think to look at the resources that are available. Many parenting websites have good guidelines about what healthy diets are. The South African Department of Health does give information on those type of things, and looking at organizations that recommend healthy diets that can give you a specific idea of, for example, how many servings in general should my child be having of milk, or green leafy veg, or red or orange vegetables, and just to get an idea, just to see. I mean, obviously, perfect is possibly not the right word, because, you know, and a little treat every now and then is not a problem, as long as it's every now and then. Nobody's perfect every single day, but in general, if a child is getting in the foods that they need every day, as compared to what an ideal diet would look like as put out there by the experts, that would be how you would know.
Okay, now our last myth here is supplements will cure you of your disease.
Yes, I think there are many supplements that make claims that they can cure you of disease, that can sort out all your life problems.
If this was the case, we would all be healthy.
Yes, and so some supplements can have beneficial effects, but supplements are not intended to cure disease. So I think this is where it's important for people to realize that supplements are not in place of medication. They're not in place of seeing your healthcare provider and taking the advice of your healthcare provider. They can possibly be an additional thing that can help with supporting health and during prevention of diseases, but this would be something that chat to your healthcare provider. If you do have a disease, remember that supplements can interact with disease states and with medications. So supplements are definitely not the cure for example, though, if you do have iron deficiency anemia, you are iron deficient, so you need an iron supplement. So an iron supplement can correct that disease state, but other disease states, they're not intended to be a cure for that.